Welcome everyone. In today's video, I wanted to talk about some potential crypto catalysts for the month of March. So this is market moving events that are happening. Potentially you could trade long or short depending on how the market reacts to this news. And some of these events may very well affect the tokens that you're holding. So you need to be aware of what's happening and what day stuff is happening as well. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is Ethereum layer 2 and some of the narratives around them. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the Optimism Bedrock upgrade. So this was discussed in the Optimism governance forums about a month ago, and they voted to implement it. And so as you can see here, it has already passed and it's going to be implemented March 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So why do people even care about the Optimism Bedrock upgrade? So Optimism has put out a great tweet here. So what's the big deal with Bedrock? So it reduces L1 to L2 deposit times by over 4x. So if you currently don't know, the time to transfer, so to get your money from Ethereum layer 1 to Optimism currently takes you 20 minutes. Now it can be shorter than that if you're using a third-party bridge such as Hop, Stargate, or anything else. But if you want to use the official Optimism bridge, it takes you about 20 minutes. Additionally, it slashes the cost of data submission to layer 1 by 20%. So this isn't something that will affect the main users by 20%. As you, the regular user of Optimism, I think you'll get about a 10% fee reduction when doing transactions on Optimism when Bedrock finally arrives. So if you don't know, the cost of sending ETH is like 15 cents, or swapping tokens is about 23 cents on Optimism right now. I'm recording this on a Sunday at like 6 p.m. So this is roughly the costs that you will get when using Optimism. So a 10% reduction there. It is a needle mover, it is good, and it makes it about as cheap as Arbitrum when you're looking to do any sort of token swap. Now, of course, this isn't, pennies cheap, but it's a good first step on the way to making optimistic rollup transactions, cost a cent. Furthermore, it cuts difference with Geth down to a slim 500 lines of code. And then lastly, it supports any number of alternative proof systems, including zk. Now, this is a major step forward for Optimism because I think one criticism of optimistic rollups is that eventually they will be replaced by zk rollups because we know that it is better tech. You'll get faster transactions, cheaper fees, and a greater security guarantee with zk rollups. And so a lot of people thought that optimistic rollups will eventually become obsolete. But by implementing this upgrade, it sets up the future for Optimism to survive and compete with the zk rollups that will be arriving soon. So the Bedrock update, it's not only going to affect Optimism itself, it's going to affect a number of other optimistic rollups as well. So as you can see here on the left, we have a list of various different Ethereum layer 2s. There are more out there, but these are the ones that currently have TVL. So we see here we have Optimism and it has an OP next to it. And then we have Metis Andromeda with an OP next to it and Boba Network with an OP next to it. The OP signifies that it's running off the Optimism code base. And so to put it generously, Metis and Boba have borrowed code from Optimism. Arbitrum, they have their completely different code base, but Metis and Boba copied from Optimism, and it's likely they'll be able to copy the Bedrock upgrade from Optimism as well, which makes swaps and transactions there cheaper, as well as deposit times faster as well. Now, speaking about people copying from Optimism or borrowing, let's talk about Base. So Base is, as we can see here, is a new Ethereum L2 incubated by Coinbase and built on the open source OP stack. So that's the same code base that Optimism has, and they'll be able to benefit from the Optimism Bedrock upgrade as well. Now, Base could be incredibly bullish for Coin. So Coin is the stock that Coinbase has out there. This could be incredibly bullish for Coinbase if they execute this properly. So as we all know, Coinbase is one of the largest crypto exchanges out there. I think they have roughly 110 million users. And if they're able to funnel maybe about 1% of their user base onto Base. That's 1.1 million users, and that's more users than basically every other Ethereum L2 and a lot of L1s out there as well. And that could generate an enormous amount of money for Coinbase. How is that so? Well, layer 2s make money by bundling up a bunch of transactions from individual users on that particular layer 2 and then submitting that to Ethereum layer 1. So I'm going to use arbitrary numbers here to explain my point, so don't take this too seriously. But let's say it costs $100 to submit those bundle of transactions to Ethereum layer 1. However, Base is going to charge all of those users $150. And so for every proof that they submit to Ethereum layer 1, they pay $100, but they receive $150 from those users. So they're making about $50 in pure profit there. And of course, you got to subtract some money from overhead costs, so they're not going to be making that full $50 amount per proof that they submit. But you get the idea here. If they funnel in a ton of users who are paying a ton of transaction fees, this could add potentially millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars to Coinbase's revenues, which could be potentially very bullish for their stock. Now, the next piece of news I wanted to talk about is the Polygon zkEVM mainnet beta, which is happening on March the 27th. So this is the public mainnet beta happening. So the marketing teams in crypto are a little bit strange. I don't know if this actually means that we'll be able to actually use the Polygon zkEVM on that day, or it might be a couple of months afterwards where we can actually use it. I'm not sure if everyone in terms of developers are actually onboarded yet and they have their dApps ready, but you might be able to, at this point, actually bridge funds over to the Polygon zkEVM and start sending test transactions out and so on and so forth. We'll see what happens here. Just keep a note of March the 27th if you're holding any Matic. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is liquid staking derivatives, or LSDs. So if you're not familiar with LSDs, I can sort of set the stage for you here. So I'm going to be mainly talking about Ethereum liquid staking here. Of course, this applies to all the other different chains, but this is the narrative that people are mostly focused around because the Shanghai update is coming up in April. So when you stake Ethereum currently, it's locked up and it cannot be withdrawn. And it cannot be withdrawn until the Shanghai update, which comes in April. And Shanghai update effectively just allows withdrawals to occur. So if you want to stake with Lido, for example, you stake ETH with them and they give you an LSD in return. So if you stake 1 ETH, they'll give you 1 staked ETH. That 1 staked ETH represents the ETH that is currently locked up and any rewards that are accrued to it as well. And so there are a number of different projects currently offering liquid staking derivatives. So Lido is the main one. We also have Rocket Pool, Frax, Stakewise, so on and so forth. There are a couple of smaller ones out there. And a lot of these tokens have seen massive rallies since the start of the year, outperforming the rest of the market by hundreds of percent. Why do people care about liquid staking derivatives? Why are they bullish on them? Well, if I just take a look at this chart here from Token Terminal, this is the total dApps based on daily cumulative revenue in the past 180 days. So this is how much money different crypto dApps have made in the past half a year. So we can see here Lido is 1, 2, 3, 4 in 5th position with approximately $18.7 million in revenue for the past half a year. So that's about $37 million at an annualized rate. So Lido has been printing money simply by offering these services. Now, the revenue that Lido is generating is expected to grow in the future. Now, the base assumption here is that nearly all ETH will eventually be staked, either staked normally or staked with a liquid staking derivative provider. Now, the assumption here is that it will mostly be staked with liquid staking providers because someone who is looking to maximize their returns on investment would rather stake with a liquid staking derivative provider than solo stake. Now, this is because when you receive that liquid staking derivative token, you're able to go ahead and use that in DeFi. So not only are you holding ETH, receiving rewards, you can gain additional yield by using that LSD token elsewhere in DeFi. You can use it as base collateral to trade against and so on and so forth. And so we expect most ETH to be staked. And so a lot of these liquid staking protocols are going to benefit massively from that. And as time goes on, we're going to see more and more entrants in the space. So Lido and Rocket Pool currently have the largest share, but we've seen Frax enter the market as well. Redacted Cartel, Yearn Finance has entered as well, and we're going to see more and more over time. And as more and more projects offer this, you'll see those tokens pump. So you should definitely be watching out for any tokens that are looking to do liquid staking, for Ethereum. I know of one token right now. It's called Acid, and it's on Arbitrum, that's looking to do liquid staking on Arbitrum. I can't say where, like, I'm not promoting this coin or anything, but it's just, I'm not promoting this coin or saying that you should buy, but it's definitely something that's currently on my radar. And just to round off liquid staking derivatives, Lido V2 is set to launch sometime in March or early April. And so they've got two major focal points to this upgrade. So that's a staking router. So thanks to a new modular architectural design, anyone can develop on-ramps for new node operators ranging from solo stakers to DAOs and distributed validator technology clusters. So together they will create a far more diverse validator ecosystem. So one criticism of Lido that has been out there is that it's a lot more centralized than some of the other providers. So this is a step towards decentralization. Additionally, they're looking to enable withdrawals from Lido itself as well. But these withdrawals won't actually go live until the Shanghai update, which is happening sometime in April. But Lido will be upgrading to its V2 before the Shanghai update comes. And so you should watch out for the announcement of V2 when it's actually live. You should stay active on Twitter, keep Lido on notifications, because I have a good feeling that Lido is probably going to pump on that news. Moving on, let's talk about Filecoin smart contracts. So Filecoin put out on their Twitter that they're going to be launching their own EVM, so the Filecoin EVM. And so smart contracts are coming to Filecoin on March 14th, 2023. So again, this is something that you could potentially trade on the news around. And if you're holding Filecoin, this is something that you should be aware of. Filecoin has been part of the Asian coin narrative recently that's happened. A big trader on crypto Twitter called GCR, he has predicted that a bull run in the future will be sparked by Asia, and Filecoin is a notable Chinese coin, and so this is a coin that has been talked about a lot, and it's going to see a lot more usage in the future if they're going to bring smart contracts and user programmability. I think in the long term this only sees limited use cases, but in the short term this is definitely a narrative that you can trade around. Now, to just round this video off, we're going to go into Misc news. So the first piece is that the STG token, which is the Stargate token, they're going to have a token migration on March 15th, reducing the total supply by 10%. And this was done in order to remove Alameda Research tokens. So with a 10% reduction in supply, it's speculated that the token might rally, but this was announced quite a while ago, and so the token has rallied since then. When it actually comes to March 15th, anything could happen, a rally or a dump. Definitely keep an eye out on STG price action around this time. And last thing I wanted to talk about is Go and Curve USD. So this is the stablecoin from Aave and stablecoin from Curve are set to release at some point soon. It feels like I've been talking about this for a while. I think I mentioned it sometime in December that they might release it soon. And with everything else in crypto, whenever something is set to release soon, leave it at least a month, maybe 6 months to be safe. But just keep an eye out for this, because Curve and Aave are likely to pump on this news, especially since BUSD has come under fire recently. And so there is a lot of interest around decentralized stablecoins. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one, and leave any crypto catalysts you have in the comments down below.